All right. Good morning, everybody, and happy Friday. Hope everybody's having a good day today. I'm going to go ahead and get right into it today, guys. Welcome to God, Greeting, Guile. My name is Full Frontal Exposure. Please follow me on YouTube, Apostle DavidETaylor, Full Frontal Exposure. Today, guys, what we're going to talk about is the residential center, why it's there, how we got onto that, okay? But before we do that, I want to read a little bit first about the original owner of the house, okay, because that's very important in this. So the original owner of the house is a man by the name of HaroldCLewis, and I'm going to read a short bio on him here. I found it online. And he is actually the founder of National Sports Agency, okay? So here's the bio I found online. It's nsafootball.com. National Sports Agency was started in 1982, truly by accident by its founder and president, HaroldCLewis, while throwing batting practice for the 1982 World Champion St. Louis Cardinals. He became very close with many of the NFL's St. Louis Cardinal players, working out at the same stadium. After one Cardinal player was released from the team, having not heard from his agent in months, he asked Harold for help in finding him a new team to play the game he loved. After not only finding him a new team, he created something that most players only heard of and owners never wanted to hear about: a guaranteed contract. Word spread fast. Within 3 years, National Sports Agency had over a dozen extremely happy and talented players without ever visiting a college campus. Those happy players helped to create the foundation for National Sports Agency's early success by spreading word to other players of the services and diligence that Harold exhibited, in turn creating an influx of new talent to this newborn company. Since then, National Sports Agency has been consistently regarded as one of the most respected and trusted complete sports agencies in the business. We understand more than anyone that this is a relationship We understand more than anyone that this is a relationship business that thrives on results by being there 24/7, 365 for all of our players. Whether first-round draft pick or undrafted free agent, we continually distinguish ourselves from all other agencies. You have to put your trust in us, and we'll never stop fighting for you and maximizing every opportunity to help you achieve all of your goals, both on and off the field. Why National Sports Agency? Because our goal and motto is simple: the best on the field deserves the best off the field. Don't just take our word for it. We welcome you to speak with any of our current or past players and their families and see why National Sports Agency is not just their agency, but truly a part of their family. Let us prove it to you. All right. And it's Harold Lewis, and he's got a bunch of pictures, and he's up there with a lot of big figures. Okay, so there's Harold Lewis. Harold Lewis originally owns 15400 Timpaige. Okay. Now, I'm going to try and decode this for you guys as good as I can. So the residential center, okay, originally is brought up in the deposition as a gentleman's deal, okay? And this legit was a gentleman's deal, guys, okay? Because first of all, David couldn't pull a fucking loan. And this is why it had to be a gentleman's deal off the books, because David doesn't want his name attached to any federal or loan documents or anything. So it was a gentleman's deal. They had lawyers from both parties draw up contracts. Whatever those contracts said, I do not know, okay? But those were two contracts between asshole David and HaroldCLewis, okay? So the contracts are written, and I don't know how long after David breaches the contract, right? Breaches the contract, and it was a lease to buy. Remember, it was a lease to own. And there are deals like that where you can lease a house to buy it or to own it. Again, circumstances, I don't know what those contracts said. What happened, though, was David breached the contract, okay? Whether he told Harold Lewis he wasn't going to pay the bills or whatever the case was, I don't know. There was a breach of contract, whether not keeping up with rent, property, whatever the case, okay? Harold Lewis sues David. Sues him. And I'll put the case, the case number is 18 Sam Lima CC Charlie 02174. You can look it up in the Missouri courts. You go to mo.co.gov, okay? MissouriCourts.gov. Type in that case number, everything will come up for this case, okay? It was held up in court for 4 years, people. Pretty much what happened, David countersued Harold Lewis saying, oh, well, I did repairs on the residential center, okay? Well, where's the receipts at? And again, guys, this case, all right, they were holding Zoom trials during the pandemic, so I went to a lot of these Zoom trials, and I heard a lot of the stuff that went on. David did not want to provide any type of financial receipts to the courts, right? For 4 fucking years, man. 4 years, David basically told the courts to fuck off. I'm not going to listen to what you tell me to do. We're not going to provide any documents. So 4 years later, I went to the day I was in the hearing, the day the case was settled. I was extremely fucking disappointed because the defense team, it seemed like on both sides, could just kind of had their heads up their ass, man. I mean, all the information was there for this to be a full-blown fucking money laundering fraud case. But it seemed everybody just had their heads up their ass, right? So, breach of contract, it was settled in court. I remember the day the Zoom meeting came on, it was HaroldCLewis's lawyer, Travis. I believe his name was Travis. And he's like, Your Honor, the parties have settled, and that's it. That was it. Okay, settled, out of court, done, 4 years. Basically what had happened, I think what was going to happen is the court was ultimately going to start holding the cult in contempt for not providing documents. I mean, the court asked for 4 fucking years, guys, for these documents. Every time, they basically put it off with some fucking motion or denial or some bullshit, right? Go back and look at the case filings on this case and see how long David held this case up in court. Now, think of this also, how much taxpayer dollars went into this, okay? 4 fucking years, man. When I say there's a lot of money surrounding this court case, there is. Not with just with Debbie Frazier, but also HaroldCLewis. This cult is a fucking money pit. Think of how much money was tied up with Rick Frazier. Think of how much money was tied up with HaroldCLewis. Think of all the filings, all the fees. Lawyers aren't cheap. They don't work on credit. So David is no doubt having to pay a shitload of money to these lawyers, and so was HaroldCLewis. I'm sure HaroldCLewis wanted to be done with it just as bad. At the end of the day, HaroldCLewis isn't going to go broke. He would have fucking broke David, but I'm pretty sure HaroldCLewis, you know what, just fucking settle this fucking piece of shit. I don't want to deal with it anymore, which I get it. Because after reading some of the county reports about how bad a condition that house is in, I can see why he probably wanted to get rid of it at that point. There are septic issues, all right? And if people have been reading the articles about this place, all right, there were county inspectors that went out to that place and they were basically fucking kicked off the property because the cult didn't want people seeing what was going on there. They didn't want them to pull permits to fix up the septic or anything. There were real issues there where you'd have to have county inspectors come in and look, but they didn't want anybody there, all right? So 15400 Timpaige Residential Center, Michelle Brennan now owns it. It's in her name. You can go on the county appraisal district and find it. All right. So anybody who gave money to this cult for whatever reason, Michelle pretty much has bought a mansion with your money. So keep that in mind. Whoever's going to give money to this cult, okay, it's going to go to their lavish lifestyle. Look at all the mansions they just bought, guys. There's 5 big properties they bought within the last few years. The 1302 Wild Horse Meadows, nobody lives there anymore. So if you look on my YouTube page, I put some documents up about the tax filings. Well, the 1302 Wild Horse Meadows, nobody lives there. A doctor bought it, okay? They sold it. That house is bought. I looked it up on the appraisal district. It looks like they did pay the last year's taxes, which was about $15,000. And then on some of these other properties, they're paying $20,000, $25,000 a year for taxes. So again, they're using donor money to pay their taxes on the properties, buy mansions, all this shit, guys, okay? I think that the residential center, let's see is there anything else on that? So HaroldCLewis, the case was settled. I'm still trying to find out if it was paid. I don't think they've paid it yet, but I don't know. The judge said if they didn't pay the settlement by July, that they were going to open the case back up, okay? But again, this case has been in the courts for 4 years, guys. And again, case number is 18 Sam Lima Charlie 02174, okay? Anybody wants to look up the case, go ahead and look it up. Once I find out it's settled, I'm going to see if I can go ahead and get all the filings and stuff. I don't know what that will take, but I'm definitely going to push buttons there to see what kind of documents were filed, see if there's any public records I can get off of that court case to see what was said off record when we weren't there. Because again, all these court cases the last year were held over Zoom, and I went to all of them. Some of them, they were real. There was one in particular they didn't want to let me in because I think that David was going to be there. That's just my opinion. Because I called the court. I was like, hey, I want to attend the hearing today. They're like, well, you can come in person. I was like, look, I don't live there, and fucking COVID's going on right now. Not only that, I'm a disabled veteran. So actually by APA, American with Disabilities Act, they have to provide me that information to view the hearing. That particular day, they let me in the very last 30 fucking seconds said, oh, court's adjourned for the day. So... And I know for sure, okay, that David had a say in that because David is a little fucking whiny little bitch when he doesn't get his way, okay? And he's hired a shitty law firm to send out cease and desist to me. Winters and King Associates, Wank and Associates, attorney at law out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, who also represents Joel Osteen and Paula White, with both degenerate pieces of shit, in my opinion. Okay. So, HaroldCLewis, 15400 Timpaige, the residential center, deposition. Michelle Brennan now owns it. Okay. So, David doesn't own it. Michelle does. So if anybody's in this cult that wants to know where their money went, I would suggest you start asking Michelle why she owns the residential center and nobody else can live there with them except the main cult members. They do have other properties that I'm looking into. I've posted them on my YouTube page, Apostle DavidETaylor Full Frontal Exposure. Go ahead and like and subscribe on that. I do videos weekly. I'm very interactive with my channel subscribers because this is an issue that needs to be discussed openly and very loud, in my opinion. Nobody else is discussing the topic of religious cults and the destructive nature and how they are actually fucking trafficking people. And again, I talked about trafficking the other day. Trafficking doesn't necessarily have to involve sex. David is a labor cult, okay? There's definitely a sexual component to it, but not with the trafficking part. There's definitely a coercion part that is, this cult is coercing people to come in and work, basically. And at the end of the day, they're not going to have anything, pretty much. I know that for a fact. So yeah, with that being said, guys, questions, comments, concerns, hit me up on my channel. I will be live tonight at 7 p.m. Central. And I haven't quite figured out what we're going to talk about tonight yet. Still kind of kicking that around. I might leave it open to the subscribers tonight and see if they want to kick off a topic. But again, if you've been a victim of David or a survivor and you want to come out and tell your story on the channel without showing face, I do have a number set up. I also have a Google Voice number set up, 314-492-3356. If you're a survivor of David or you want to tell a story about David, by all means call him. Let's get it out to the world because people need to hear this.